Naz has a couple of questions about the feed.
Oh, if you change the description, where does it appear? On Google's shopping ad itself or anywhere else? Yes. So it actually shows up in your ads, not on the website. So if you have a remarketing ad, and remarketing ad is an expanded text ad, because that remarketing ad on display can have a text-only display ad. I know that sounds stupid, but there is text-only display ads inside of display. It'll take your title, your price, and your description and the manufacturer, and won't have any other pictures like logos or imagery. That will be featured in that ad. And so your description, if you changed it inside of the description in the feed, it'll show up in the ad. But when they click on it and they go to your landing page, it'll look different than what the ad says. So you can optimize your ads based on those type of descriptions. That, thinking about it, the feed is omni campaign, I guess. The same shopping ad, display ad, YouTube shopping ads, which we're going to get into as well. All of those descriptions will be the same regardless. You can't be like, hey, if it's on a display ad, can I do this? If it's on a shopping ad, can I do that? Unfortunately, Google just takes your feed and then permeates it through all their campaigns. But it will show up differently in your ad than on your landing page. And then, is it possible to split test images to see which one performed the best? My opinion is I would split test, not A/B, in terms of how to describe this. I would not A/B test inside the feed. I would A/B test inside how I describe this. I wouldn't split test in like 50% of traffic gets this picture, 50% of traffic gets this picture. What I would do is I would say 100% of the traffic gets this picture for 2 weeks. 100% of the traffic gets this picture for 2 weeks. And then you want to look at individual metrics, click the rate by product. Because if you look at, well, did the 50% of the traffic get this image? And then you got to say, well, on smart shopping, they had one shopping, 2 ad displays, 3 remarketings, and then they purchased. Well, what image was shown during that A/B test? And then you have to, then that just becomes a mathematical nightmare. So what I would say is use the image updating tool inside of Day4 Watch to say, now we replace this image, watch how my metrics work, swap the image, see how that makes a change in the metrics. Give it a consecutive test, not a concurrent test. That's my opinion, just because smart shopping goes on all 5 channels of Google, and they have multiple clicks. So I couldn't tell you which one had more clicks on when that image was shown. And also, I don't want to confuse my remarketing audience by showing them a different image than what they were used to clicking on, because they made a relationship to that product.
So I have a previous attribution model that is not first click. Obviously, I want to move forward using that. Is it okay to just change it to that, or do I need to make a whole new conversion action?
I would actually change it rather than choosing a new conversion action. New conversion action usually resets any sort of conversion history of that specific audience or campaign or product. What was your previous conversion or attribution model?
It was linear, actually.
It was linear, so you're given equal value to every single campaign. Now, in your, can you share your screen?
There we go.
There we go. I'm going to kill my camera just so I can have a higher resolution on your side. There we go. All right, so let's do this. Under tools up at the top right.
Okay.
And then go into attribution. And then on the left-hand side, choose top paths.
Alrighty.
And then on the last 7 days up the top right, change that to like the last, 2 months, 3 months, however long your campaign has been running without a lot of changes, but with enough data. So maybe usually like a good, or yeah, if you haven't really made any major changes to campaigns.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, I went on target ROAS, I think on the 30th of March. So.
Okay, yeah, let's do 30th March to today. Or yesterday or whatever. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Oh no, you're suffering the same fate as I am. Oh, you're going to click on that. Yeah, go ahead and click on that. So this is a good learning tool for everyone to use. Is this right or is this not right? Yeah, we're gonna have to go up to the top right and click on that date range again, unfortunately. So what we're looking for is multi-campaign interactivity and how it's going to affect it. So with multi-campaign interactivity, what we're looking at is cool. So let's do a look back window of 90 days if you could, because that's usually, if you're following along. Oh, sorry, up at the top middle where it says look back window 30 days. Yes, perfect. Let's go to 90 days. Awesome. And now we're looking at, okay, the first time your campaigns actually cross over, what you'll see here is the one conversion down the bottom went to control conversion, then control conversion manual shopping. You are actually not splitting out your conversions pretty much at all. What you're doing is you're splitting it in between its own campaign. And sometimes whereas a first click happened on Tuesday and the second click happened on Thursday, and it will split 50-50 between those two days, but it's still being attributed to the same campaign. So I would say if you go to first click, all you're going to do is just give it more conversion value at the time when the conversion takes place, which means that day and that week are possibly just going to have more information to go on. So I would say moving to first click now is not going to be an issue. If you had like 2 and 3 and 4 campaigns every single time, then it's a more complicated issue, but you're usually just having one campaign interaction. Even if multiple times they interact with that one campaign, you're not splitting between campaigns. So you're totally fine going on first click now.
Cool, thank you so much.
You got it.
Dude, that camera thing worked. When I stopped sharing my camera, the resolution improved.
Right?
Michael has a question. Where'd it go? Do you have any rules or best practices for when to separate products into multiple feeds and when you use a separate feed versus a supplemental feed?
Usually it's how would I describe it? I'm trying to think of a scenario. I usually don't have any rules or best practices of when I would separate the feeds. The only time I separate the feed is if I wanted to separate them by campaign, and I don't want to eventually bring the campaign locations into its own. So as an example, we have a campaign that has the United States and Canada. I kept the same feed. I didn't break those out into supplement feeds because I tested 2 individual smart shopping campaigns, one in Canada, one in the US. When they showed good performance, I merged them and then just grew the ad spend so that overall I could care less where they sold. The client could care less where they sold. We just need to scale. But I test them individually. But you could have broken them out into separate feeds, then attach one feed to one country and one smart shopping campaign. But then if you wanted to merge them, you just merge the feed if you wanted to, and then you'd use one feed management tool. I don't really have supplemental feeds unless it's for you're looking at obviously supplemental feed would be like for the review extensions. You'd want to have your obviously separate feed for that for review extensions, but that's going to be given to you by a review extension company most likely. But I don't really see a need to separate the feeds. Honestly, I haven't run into that issue in the 200 accounts that we ran for smart shopping. There was never a need. The only time I had to is if I had to have one of our internal people supplement it with like, hey, client, can you please give me the gender and age? Yeah, I'll get that to you. And they just never did. And I just had one of our people go in and just find all that information, put it into a Excel spreadsheet, and then upload it as a supplemental feed with the same ID so that I can get that information into the campaign. But if you're doing it your own, and you don't want to do the work, then you're not going to be that issue. So how important is a Google product category? I've always found that to be a pain in the ass to assign to each individual product. It is actually huge. It's a way for Google to best interpret matching an audience in the product category. And so especially for brand new accounts, if you can tell it, hey, this is a home goods product category, is this okay? It's not going to have to try to interpret that product. So I would say it's absolutely valuable. That's one of our standard operating procedures, is make sure that product category is always filled out as granular as you can get it, as deep in that hierarchy as you can, the most relevant, because that's what Google is going to use that to identify. Actually, I'll just share a screen here. Google has these people built in. And if I said, if I go into a video campaign and I go into, let's do this here, campaign, sales on display. I'm just gonna do standard. I'm gonna skip that part here. And then I'm gonna go into the audiences. This is what Google's gonna say. Oh no, come on, just stop slowing down. So this is what Google is trying to match. Your product categories is gonna try to match these in-market audiences. So if we have an audience for home decor, and if you give your product category a home decor category, it says, okay, I know the audience now that I'm going to start to attach it to. So how you normally would build a cold campaign to a specific audience by giving your product category a category, it's going to match that to an in-market audience or possibly an affinity audience that it's going to then say, okay, show it to these people first, because in-market audiences are typically in the last 14 days, people who've shown an interest in making a purchase about that specific category. So by giving it categories, you're helping Google narrow that search to the more possibly lower hanging fruit and more in-market type of audience members. So hopefully that helps. Mariana, I'll repeat mine because I think I got lost. Oh, sorry about that, Mariana. Is it normal to have a page speed 93 on desktop and 33 on mobile? Most of my traffic is on mobile, obviously, so I'm wondering. So yes, on page speed insights, again, I think I said this yesterday, possibly the day before, I forget, so my apologies. It's rating your mobile site against the AMP standard. One day, I think like a year and a half ago, all of a sudden, all of our 80 mobile site speeds went down to like 35. And it was like, okay, that's not fair, because it says, hey, your site speed's slow compared to an AMP site. So your mobile site speed is always going to be slower than your desktop speed. That's just pretty much a given fact in page speed insights, because the benchmark that is set is, here's AMP, which is super fast. Here's the majority of mobile sites. All of you are slower. So you need to be an AMP. It's, since Google page speed insights is Google, AMP is from Google, is essentially trying to bring everybody up to AMP. It's just the industry has not gotten there yet, because AMP gives you pretty much no CSS creativity. So you're going to be slower on mobile, but I would say like anything above 30 is decent, is good. The higher you can get over 30, the better. But 30 is going to be like your benchmark, because that used to be like 60. So yeah, that's unfortunately the way that works now. But if your desktop's on 93 and your mobile's on 33, yeah, you're good. You're good. You can use other tools like GTmetrix to confirm that. But again, the measure as to which Google Ads cares about is going to be page speed insights, but over 30 is fine on mobile. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Appreciate it.